Slava Ukraini, Joseph.
Heroyam Slava.
Same to you, fella. I'll talk to you Monday.
Доброго вечора, ми з України.
Reporter Joseph Lindsley in Lviv in Ukraine. And Joseph, I guess during the Easter season, I should say something more than just hello, or it's after 3 p.m. where you are, or something different than good afternoon. What do the people in Ukraine say this time of year?
Correct. When you walk into a shop or you see a friend or a relative, you say Christos Voskres, which means Christ is risen, but it de facto it means hello. And then if you hear that from someone, you have to reply, Voistinu Voskres, which means he's risen indeed. And we've seen a couple of days ago when you mentioned Slava Ukraini, glory to Ukraine. In the Ukrainian language, it's common to have sort of a call and a response. So if you give one greeting, the other greeting has to be a little bit different. So it's the same with the Easter greetings, which will go on for the next 4 or 5 weeks.
I'll study over the weekend, I promise. Joseph, what is going on with that steel plant in Mariupol? I don't understand what's happening. I don't understand what the Russians are doing and what the situation is at the moment.
It's hard to know. I mean, all we know. I mean, the Russians say that they control all of the city of Mariupol, except for the steel plant, which is on the at the port on the Sea of Azov, and that's what we know. We know that today there are reports that maybe the Russians will allow some of the civilians to escape, but sometimes when they say they will, they still fire upon the buses that are taking women and children out of the city. So we'll know more tomorrow on that, but there are still a few warriors. We don't know how many in this plant. This is probably the battalion of the Ukrainian militias and armed forces with the most fearsome reputation, the Azov fighters. Putin calls them Nazis, which is ridiculous. And, they have a famous Israeli warrior fighting with them now in other places in the country. So all we know is that they have not given up. They're still holding on to the one little piece of Mariupol in what has been one of the most awful sieges probably in human history.
Joseph, are you having problems publishing information on social media? I read a report about Ukrainian newsrooms having some difficulty because they don't know what they're allowed to publish on Facebook and Instagram. What's that all about?
Yeah, we've had early on in the war, we had for Ukrainian Freedom News, for our team of volunteer journalists, we had Facebook banned our group. And, in the war, I didn't have time to call them up and then find out what the problem is. YouTube has censored some of our videos. And I know some Crimean journalists from the Crimean Peninsula, which has been occupied by Russia since 2014, who have been censored by Facebook. A lot of times we're unable to advertise on Instagram. So we do have, it's very strange. And at some point we'll have to sort of investigate it. That's why we've been using the Telegram app. And if you go to, for example, LvivLab.com, you can access the Telegram app. You have to download it. It's not so popular in America. But through Telegram, you can reach your followers directly without any algorithmic or censorship interference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't understand why, for example, your YouTube videos would be censored. It's a big question, and and even when YouTube, for example, to take one case, pulled out of Russia, I was more concerned that they would shut down in Russia. I think the more opportunities to share information is exactly what is needed there. Yep.
So I'm a bit skeptical. And I know this is a big topic in America with Mr. Musk buying Twitter, but I as a journalist, I'm skeptical of social media censorship of information.
Joe, you have such a keen understanding of the people in that region, not just Ukraine, but also Russia. Do you think the Russian leaders are just saber rattling with all this talk of nuclear or chemical weapons? If Putin continues to be embarrassed, how likely do you think it is that he would actually follow through on some of these threats?
That's this is the big one of the major questions here, and I was thinking the past 24 hours. Yesterday Kyiv was hit after some time of quiet, while the Secretary General of the United Nations was in Kyiv. The Russians, had sort of the audacity to hit a residential building, and Bob, when the war started, I was thinking back to that first day, February 24th. Everyone was afraid. We had a different type of fear. It was, Russian tanks coming down the streets, maybe a nuclear bomb in Lviv. All of these fears were very real at that time. But we all resolved, okay, we're gonna stick through it. We're gonna stay here. Now we have a new type of fear, which is it's not this immediate fear that we had that only really lasted that first day. It's this dispiritedness or an angst. Like, how long is this going to continue? And it seems now, while Russia is continuing to make big threats, they are sort of quietly, hitting these cities in eastern Ukraine. Every once in a while, there pops something over here to the west. But there's this fear that Russia is going to just keep hitting Ukraine, but make this drag on slowly until the world stops paying attention to it. And so I think that's the greater fear right now. The nuclear, I don't know, maybe we don't want to think about the nuclear aspect too much, but the greater fear is that Russia, I think maybe the Russians are hoping in their strategy that they can just make this war last until the world gets bored of it, and then they can eventually take over Ukraine.
And finally, let me share with you some feedback from listeners this week. Let's see. Joseph Lindsley sounds like Jimmy Fallon, somebody says. Joseph Lindsley presents his reports in such a balanced and first-hand manner. His courage is also amazing. Hurrah also to Bob for the regular conversations with Lindsley. Chicagoans and people around the Midwest really enjoy your insights here every morning, Joseph. We certainly appreciate it.
Wow, thank you. And I was just meeting with an alumnus of the Chicago Booth School of Business who came here to volunteer and help us create a better database to get supplies and information and funding for everything we're all working on here. So thanks to Chicago for sending your best.
Slava Ukraini, Joseph.
Heroyam Slava.
Same to you, fella. I'll talk to you Monday.
Thank you.
Please stay safe.
Thank you.